Hey everyone, and welcome back. So doing a very quick review of the new Scream Factory 4K release of the movie The Sword and the Sorcerer, the Albert Pyun film from 1982, and I've been waiting for this to get a good video release. I mean, I think it's like, did it get a DVD? I think it got a DVD release like a long time ago. I remember watching it as a kid on VHS because I think because the poster, which is obviously on the cover here, was on the cover of the VHS. I remember seeing that cover as a kid, and I was like, I want to see that movie. Speaking of which, just real quick, here is the packaging. And you can see right there's the front of the slipcover featuring the original poster artwork. And there's the side with the title. And real quick, there is the back. And the inside, which it does have a flip cover, so it has the original artwork on one side. It also has an alternate poster artwork, which I'll show you right here, which you can see there, which I believe is just I don't know if it was like a version B of the poster or like a European version of the poster, but very, very cool. I have a strong affinity for the original one sheet. I even actually have an original one sheet in my poster collection. Just real quick, here are the discs. So it comes with a Blu-ray, which basically has most of the extras on it, and then obviously the 4K disc, which pretty much just has the movie itself and the commentary track with the director, and I'll get to that in a moment. And if you've never seen Sword and the Sorcerer, so basically, you know, around the time, there was a period of time where I swear there were like a bunch of low-budget films that were very much inspired, I hate to say rip-off, but you know, I guess technically they were rip-offs. You know, they were either rip-offs of Star Wars, The Road Warrior, or Conan the Barbarian. We sort of went through that, you know, some of them even like combine all three and try to do their own thing. But the thing is, a lot of them, you know, some of them were just like, oh, this is kind of bad. Most of them, in my opinion, are actually just a lot of fun because they sort of tried to go for broke and just kind of threw everything at the screen as they could with, you know, what limited funds that they had disposable to. And this is obviously one that was much more in line with the Conan the Barbarian sort of theme. It basically has to do with, you have your villain who's played by the great Richard Lynch, who takes over a kingdom and he sort of slaughters a family, and the son gets away and then sort of comes back years later for revenge. But there's also like the proper heir to the throne that is trying to get back in, obviously take the throne back. And the heir to the throne is played by, what's his name? Oh god, I hope it's on here. Simon McCorkindale, who's in Jaws 3, which ironically, this was not planned. I'm wearing my Jaws 3 shirt today. He was also in that TV show Manimal. And then you have Lee Horsley, who's the lead in the film. And then you also have Richard Mole in the film, and he's probably best known for playing Bull on Night Court, but there was a time where he actually played like, you know, kind of the villain or one of the villains in a couple films, especially in like a lot of makeup, and this is one of them. He plays he's sort of like a secondary villain in the film, but he's in this amazing makeup. This film actually has a lot of great makeup effects. And Richard Mole was actually really good. He's good in this part, but he was also good, like, what was he in? I think Dungeon Master, I think it was another one where he was the villain. Obviously, Big Ben in House, you know, he was there and also in all that makeup. I don't know, I kind of feel he was like one of those sort of underrated guys, and he was so funny on Night Court. But the film is, you know, kind of cheesy in parts, but the thing I really like, I think I've always liked about this film is that it's very entertaining, and it's like, it's always, there's a good energy to it. It's always kind of moving along. So when this finally got announced that it was coming out, I mean, I would have been happy with a Blu-ray of this, but the fact that we even got a 4K release is even just all the more special. So as far as the technical merits go, this to get a transfer from the original camera negative. Now, this is a very low-budget film from like 1982. Especially for low-budget films, the film stock being used in that time frame was not too great, even though it is transferred from the original negative. It does have a fair amount of grain, but I welcome that because, one, it means that, first off, the grain is where, especially when it comes to film, that's where you get all your detail from. And it also means that this film, this transfer was not scrubbed over with any noise reduction or anything along those lines, which I'm so happy to see. Like, I want the grain. Don't scrub it out for me. I want it to look as close to its original presentation as possible, which obviously means film grain, even if it is maybe a little heavy in spots. Now, obviously, because especially with certain points, which obviously was common, you know, before late 90s, you know, from any film made before then. Any type of optical, and I don't mean just visual effects, but I mean literally like a dissolve or a fade or credits was done in the lab. So those opticals are always a little bit faded as far as color, and they're always usually extra grainy because they were sort of once removed from the original film elements. So for a film like this, obviously for the first like couple minutes of the opening credits, it's very, very grainy, you know, bits of dirt and grime and everything, and it's not quite as vivid as all of a sudden once you get past the opening credits and you actually get to the film, all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, this is where the transfer really shines. And even though there are some elements in the film which could have been problematic, I did not notice any compression issues. I'm not saying they're there. If there are any there, to me, they didn't stick out. So I was happy to see that, especially some moments. There are some moments with like some fog and stuff where it was kind of like, Now, granted, I wasn't pixel peeping at the time either. So, I mean, again, if there is anything there, it didn't stand out. And in regards to the audio, so the audio for this was, in fact, and they mentioned it actually on the disc at the start of the film, the original audio elements, unfortunately, are either missing or just could not be found or whatever. They couldn't be used. So they actually had to use the audio, I believe, from an actual print, like an actual release print. So the fidelity of the audio track, the main audio track on this release, isn't as good as obviously it could be if they had the original elements. And they do mention that there could be some minor static sound. I only noticed that once, kind of thing. I actually thought the audio sounded fine. Again, it's not going to have the full range of a full-blown transfer from original elements, but I thought it was just fine. Now, there is a 5.1 surround option that I guess is from like an older release or an alternate release or something that apparently has issues with it. It's not a mix that they did. It is included, and they also do mention it, that there are, I think, some directional issues, but they obviously did include it. It's not the default option, which I'm glad. I'm glad the original audio is actually the default, but you do have two audio options for the film, and obviously there is a commentary track on both the Blu-ray and the 4K disc with the director, Albert Pyun, but the chunk of the extras is actually on the Blu-ray disc. So it has a bunch of interviews, including one with the director, Albert Pyun, and also one with actress Kathleen Beller, one with co-writer, co-producer John Stuckmeyer, one with editor Marshall Harvey, interview with makeup effects artist Alan Alpone, and interview with special effects artist the Chiodo brothers, which is really, really cool. Actually, I didn't notice that in the credits that they were actually worked on this. I've been a big fan of the Chiodo brothers, obviously. Probably best known for a lot of the effects they've done for other films, but they actually also directed Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Kind of thing where they've definitely done a lot of work in different films, but they actually made Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And also a nice tribute to stuntman Jack Tyree, as well as the Trailers from Hell segment, featuring editor Marshall Harvey on Sword and the Sorcerer, as well as the original theatrical trailers, a TV spot, and a still gallery. And I do want to also mention that the included Blu-ray is Region A locked. Obviously 4K is a region-free format, but the Blu-ray included is Region A, so there's something to just keep in mind. So I'm trying to keep these a little bit short, but I am actually going to come up with a grading system. I haven't been doing that, and I think I should. I actually came up with an idea for a possible graphic to do with it. So for right now, I'm actually just going to do sort of the old-fashioned, like, just number grade, just kind of give you an idea. And I'm messing with my hair. I shouldn't do that. So I'll grade everything out of 5, scale from 1 to 5. So for the video, I would probably say it's about a 4. It's a great transfer given the elements that they choose. Like, I don't think this film technically could really look any better than it does, but I do have to be kind of fair as far as if 5 is sort of the epitome of a transfer, any transfer in a technical front. I just want to kind of keep things in mind. So I would say definitely a 4, and a 4 is a fantastic score for me. Audio, it's about a 3.5 because same thing. They're limited on the elements they could do, but I still found it very, very good. The extras, I'd probably give it like maybe a 4.5. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know who else they could have talked to. I think, the interviews and all the included extras, I think, are just like fantastic. There's only so much you can do with a film of a certain age, especially since some of the people unfortunately aren't around anymore. And for an overall score, I'd probably give it probably the same thing, probably about a 4.5. I mean, it's just the kind of thing where, as an overall package, I think Shout/Scream Factory, much like they did with Alligator, I think did a fantastic job on this release. The picture is, again, in my opinion, about as good as it can possibly be. The audio, again, is very much presentable, and the extras are fantastic, and I also love that it does have the original poster artwork on the cover. Just a small thing for me. And if you're a fan of, to use the term, sword and sorcery films, which there were plenty, especially back then, I think you actually might be pleasantly surprised and happily entertained. And if you are a fan of this film like I am, this is definitely a fantastic release to pick up. So definitely let me know your thoughts. If you have the release, definitely let me know what you think. Or if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. I'll try and answer it as best I can. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.